The space station Towers 5 hung above the asteroid belt like a quiet giant. From a distance, it looked peaceful, soft lights blinking across its metallic surface. Cargo ships floating in and out like insects around a lamp. But everyone who had spent time out here knew the truth. This place was a hub for smugglers, pirates, and people who lived far away from the laws of the civilized worlds. Captain Aaron Dempsey had seen enough of it to know trouble when it whispered, inside the cockpit of his patrol ship Silverlight. He leaned forward in his seat. The ship's scanners were picking up something strange, a cargo freighter that didn't match any registered route. Its engines were cold, but it was still moving. Too smooth. Too careful. Anything. Aaron asked, his second in command. Nadia checked the readings on her screen. Not yet. But it's masked. Somebody doesn't want to be found. Aaron smiled. But it wasn't a warm smile. Then let's find them. He'd been part of the Border Patrol for almost 10 years. He'd seen slavers before. He hated them. Not because he liked to fight, but because they treated people like things. That was something Aaron never tolerated. The Silverlight shifted course quietly, its thrusters making only a soft hum. Slowly, like a shadow, the patrol ship approached the freighter. Scan the cargo hold, Aaron ordered. A moment later, Nadia frowned. Captain, we've got life signs. Many of them, but they're faint. Aaron's hands tightened on the armrest. How faint? Low heartbeat. Weak breathing. They're alive, but not doing well. Aaron didn't need more. He switched the ship to alert status. Red lights glowed softly along the control panels. Bring us in, he said. Prepare a boarding team. Dark Cargotha freighter didn't answer their hails. It just drifted like an empty shell. But Aaron knew it wasn't empty. He put on his black patrol jacket, checked the oxygen filters in his helmet, and joined the boarding team at the airlock. The door slid open with a hiss. The inside of the freighter was cold and dark. It smelled of metal and old air. Lights flickered weakly along the floor. Aaron's boots made soft echoes as he walked down the narrow corridor. Nadia's voice came through the comm. Life signs ahead, Captain. He followed the signal to a wide storage bay. There, behind a heavy security door, the scanners showed dozens of weak signals. Aaron forced the door open manually. What he saw inside made him take a sharp breath. There were cages. Long rows of them. Inside, frightened figures huddled together. Most were aliens, different species from the outer colonies. Their clothes were torn. Their eyes showed no hope. Aaron stepped inside slowly, raising his hands to show he wasn't a threat. It's okay, he said softly. You're safe now. Most of them didn't respond. Some were too weak, but one figure, sitting alone in the corner, lifted her head. The silent one. Her skin glowed softly in the darkness, pale silver, with a faint shimmer like starlight. Her hair was white, almost transparent, falling over her shoulders like threads of light. And her eyes. Her eyes were bright silver, glowing softly. Aaron froze for half a second. He recognized her kind. She was Aurelian, a telepathic species that once ruled great star kingdoms. But after their empire fell, they were scattered, hunted, and sold. Most Aurelians never spoke again after being enslaved. She didn't move when he approached, but her eyes followed him carefully. She looked calm, but there was something in her gaze, a quiet strength, like a flame refusing to die. Aaron crouched beside the cage. Hey, I'm Aaron. I'm with the patrol fleet. You're safe now. No answer. Just her steady, glowing eyes. He tapped on the lock panel. We're getting you out. She tilted her head just a little, as if trying to understand why a stranger would care. Aaron didn't know what she was thinking, but he kept his movements slow and calm. The door clicked open. The woman didn't run. She didn't speak. She simply stood up, her movements graceful and quiet, and stepped out. She was taller than he expected, slender, wearing a thin gray cloth that wasn't meant to keep anyone warm. Aaron pulled off his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. She didn't flinch. She just stared at him as if trying to read something behind his eyes. Let's get you out of here, he said. And for the first time, She moved closer to him, not because she was forced, but because she chose to. The escape back on the Silverlight, the medical bay was full. The rescued captives were being treated by medics, given water and clean clothes. But the Aurelian woman remained silent. She sat on a bed, wrapped in Aaron's jacket, like it was armor. Aaron approached her again. "How are you feeling?" No response. She just looked at him. But this time, there was a faint shimmer of light around her eyes. A sign, he remembered, of Aurelians using their telepathic sense, he felt. Something. A soft presence in his mind. A question without words. A simple feeling. Why? Aaron didn't know how to answer with his mind, so he spoke out loud. "Because no one deserves to be locked in a cage," he said quietly. "Not you. Not anyone." For a long moment, she didn't move. Then, slowly, she placed her hand over his. Her fingers were cold, but the touch was gentle. It wasn't a thank you spoken with words. But he understood. Whispers and rules later in the command room. Nadia crossed her arms and stared at Aaron. "You know what they're going to say when we get back to base?" she said. "Bringing in an Aurelian isn't simple. She's technically a refugee. High-level paperwork. They'll want to move her to a secure facility." Aaron leaned against the console. "She's not a weapon. She's a person." Nadia sighed. "I know. But the law doesn't see it that way." Aaron didn't answer. He glanced at the screen showing the medical bay. The woman was sitting quietly, staring at the stars through the small window. "She's staying here," he said at last. "Until we reach a safe world." Nadia raised an eyebrow. "You sure you want to deal with the paperwork?" Aaron smirked. "I've dealt with worse." And the next morning, the woman followed him out of the med bay. Aaron noticed it the moment he stepped into the hallway, the soft sound of her bare feet behind him. When he stopped, she stopped. When he turned, she stood still, her silver eyes calm. "You're following me?" he said with a small smile. She didn't respond. She just tilted her head slightly, like a curious animal. Aaron thought for a moment. "Do you have a name?" Silence. Then she touched her own chest with her fingers and said softly, "Leora." Her voice was soft, almost like wind through glass, but clear. Aaron felt a small warmth in his chest. She had spoken. After everything, she still remembered who she was. "Leora," he repeated. "Nice to meet you." She blinked once, as if testing the sound of it in her mind. And then she smiled. Not a big smile, but a quiet, real one. The shadow days passed as the Silverlight traveled toward the nearest secure colony. Most of the rescued captives were quiet and tired, trying to rebuild themselves. But Leora was different. She never stayed far from Aaron. When he went to the control room, she sat near the door. When he ate, she was at a nearby table. When he walked the hallway at night, he'd catch her reflection in the glass, always close, always silent. The crew started whispering, "Why is she following the captain? She doesn't talk to anyone else." She must feel safe with him. Aaron didn't mind. He knew why. She had spent who knew how long locked in cages, surrounded by people who saw her as property. And now she was free, but freedom was a strange thing when the galaxy still felt dangerous. Aaron wasn't just the one who opened the cage. He was a point of safety. He didn't push her away. He let her be. When she wanted to walk beside him, he didn't question it. The first laugh one evening. Aaron sat alone in the ship's lounge, fixing an old navigation console. Leora approached quietly, as usual. But this time, she reached out and pressed a single button on the console. The wrong one. A loud alarm beeped. Aaron jumped, nearly dropping his tools. Then he turned to look at her. She covered her mouth with both hands, eyes wide in surprise. For a second, he thought she was scared, but then something unexpected happened. She laughed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't the kind of laughter that filled a room. But it was light, soft, and full of life. Like sunlight breaking through cold clouds. Aaron stared at her. "You did that on purpose." She shook her head quickly, still laughing. He grinned. Liar, she laughed again. For someone who had seen only cages. Laughter was a kind of victory. A quiet promise later that night. As the stars drifted by outside the observation deck, Leora stood beside him. She didn't speak. She just watched the lights. You know, Aaron said softly, once we reach the colony, you'll be free to go wherever you want. She turned her head slowly. Her silver eyes met his, and then she shook her head. Aaron frowned a little. You don't want to leave? She shook her head again, but this time there was no fear in her eyes. Only calm, a choice. She had been taken once. She had lived in silence. But now she had chosen something on her own. Aaron didn't know what to say, so he simply nodded. All right, he whispered. Then you stay as long as you want. She stepped closer, close enough that their shoulders almost touched, and looked out at the stars with him. For the first time in years, Leora wasn't alone. And deep down, Aaron realized something too. He wasn't alone either. The ship's silver light moved through the silent darkness of space like a silver arrow. The stars outside the windows were bright and endless. Inside, the crew had started to relax. The rescued people were slowly recovering, and the air no longer carried fear. But one thing hadn't changed. Leora still followed Aaron. She didn't do it in a loud or annoying way. She was quiet, calm, and always near him. Sometimes she sat a few steps behind him in the control room. Sometimes she walked next to him in the hallway. Other times, she stood near a window, looking out at the stars, waiting until he passed by. At first, some of the crew whispered about it. Then they stopped. Because after a while, it didn't feel strange anymore. It felt like she belonged there. The message one morning, Aaron entered the control room with a cup of hot tea. Nadia was already at her console, frowning at the screen. What's wrong? Aaron asked. Encrypted message from the outer sector, Nadia said. It's marked urgent. Aaron put the cup down. Let's hear it. The screen lit up with a shaky transmission. A tired-looking officer from a nearby colony appeared. This is Station Orelon, the officer said. We need help. Multiple ships have disappeared near the Caro's rim. Refugee convoys. No communication. We're stretched too thin to investigate. If any patrol can respond, please do. The message ended with static. Nadia looked at Aaron. It's far from our route. We can ignore it. Aaron didn't answer right away. He looked out the window at the stars. He thought about the cages, about people waiting for help that might never come. He turned back to Nadia. Set a new course, he said. We're going, she sighed, but there was a small smile on her face. She had known the answer before she asked. Leora's voice later that day. Aaron walked to the observation deck. He found Leora there, standing by the glass, watching the stars again. When she noticed him, she straightened up a little. She didn't speak much, but her presence was always strong. Aaron stopped beside her. We're going to the Caro's rim, he said. Dangerous place. People are in trouble. She turned her head slowly toward him. For a few seconds, she didn't react. Then she said in her soft, clear voice, I will help. Aaron was surprised. She had never offered something like that before. Help. How? He asked. She touched her temple gently. I can. Feel things, ships, minds, danger, before it comes. Aaron remembered what he knew about Aurelians. They were telepathic. They could sense danger like others sensed heat or cold. Some said they could read emotions. Some said more. But Aaron never cared about the stories. He cared about what was real. He looked at her carefully. Are you sure you want to do this? She nodded once. Yes. Her silver eyes were calm but firm. She wasn't doing it because she owed him anything. She was choosing. Learning together over the next few days, Leora spent more time on the bridge. At first, the crew didn't know how to react. She didn't wear a uniform. She didn't speak much. But when Aaron gave her permission to stay, nobody argued. When they entered unknown space, Leora closed her eyes. The room grew quiet. There, she said softly. Something is waiting. Where? Nadia asked. She pointed toward a part of space where the scanners showed nothing. But Aaron trusted her. Adjust course, he ordered. Minutes later, the scanners suddenly lit up. A debris field drifted ahead, old cargo containers, broken engines, floating metal. It was a perfect place for an ambush. But thanks to Leora, they were ready. Aaron looked at her. She opened her eyes slowly. Danger is near, she said quietly. It wasn't fear in her voice. It was certainty. Aaron nodded. Then we'll be ready. The night shift that night, Aaron walked through the quiet ship alone. Most of the crew was asleep. He liked these hours. The hum of the engines was soft. The hallway lights were dim. He reached the lounge and stopped. Leora was sitting there, her silver hair glowing softly in the low light. She looked peaceful. He sat across from her. You don't sleep much, do you? He asked. She shook her head. My people dream with eyes open, Aaron smiled. That sounds like a nice trick. She tilted her head, confused. Trick? He chuckled. Never mind. It just means it's interesting. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. Then Leora said, When you saved me. I thought I would be alone again. Aaron frowned a little. Why? She looked at the stars through the window. Because that is what happens. People save us, and then we are sent away. 2 places we do not know. 2 faces we do not trust. Aaron leaned forward slightly. That's not going to happen here. She looked at him, really looked at him, and something changed in her expression. It was small, soft, but it felt like a door opening. You do not lie, she said. Aaron shook his head. No, I don't. And for the first time, Leora smiled without fear behind it. Trust. The next morning, the crew gathered in the control room. Nadia was explaining the situation. We're getting closer to Caro's rim, she said. Still no response from the missing convoys. Aaron stood at the front. Leora was next to him. Some of the crew exchanged glances, not with dislike, but curiosity. She wasn't just a quiet passenger anymore. She was part of the mission. Aaron spoke clearly. We're not here to fight. We're here to help. But we'll need sharp eyes and steady hands. Leora's helping us with early warning. If she senses danger, we trust her. Ow. No one questioned him. Leora lowered her head slightly, a little shy, but also proud. She wasn't invisible anymore. The signal hours later, the sensors caught something. A faint distress signal. Old. Repeating, Nadia leaned closer to the console. Got something? It's weak. Aaron moved beside her. Source. Freighter. Civilian ident code matches one of the missing convoys.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron straightened up. Bring us closer. Leora closed her eyes again. Everyone waited. The ship glided through the dark, quiet space, like a silent bird. Then her eyes snapped open. Not alone, she whispered. Something hiding. The scanners were still empty. But Aaron didn't doubt her. He nodded to Nadia. Prepare countermeasures. Slow approach. Close, when the silver light reached the damaged freighter, it was spinning slowly. No power, no lights. But inside, heat signatures flickered weak. But alive. Leora stood at the front of the bridge, her hands resting against the glass. She could feel the emotions, confusion, fear, and something darker nearby. Aaron's voice was steady. We'll bring them aboard. But stay sharp. The crew moved with quiet discipline. Leora stayed on the bridge, scanning with her mind. She wasn't a soldier, but in that moment, she was just as important as any of them. She felt the cold edge of danger somewhere beyond the stars. It wasn't close yet, but it was coming. She whispered, Hurry. Small moments that night, after everything was calm again. Leora sat on the floor of the observation deck with a warm blanket around her shoulders. Aaron joined her. You were right again, he said softly. We saved people because of you. She shook her head. Because of us. Aaron raised an eyebrow. Us, she nodded. You trusted me. No one has done that before. For a long time, they just sat there. The stars stretched out forever. But the space between them felt smaller now. Closer. New strength in the days that followed. Leora trained with the crew. She learned how to read the scanners, how to respond during alerts, how to speak through the comm system. She didn't say much, But when she did, everyone listened. Aaron watched her carefully. She had changed. When he had found her, she had been silent, fragile, like a candle almost out. Now she stood taller. She smiled more often. She spoke with confidence, but she still stayed close to him. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The threat grows one evening. Aaron found Nadia alone in the control room. "She's good," Nadia said quietly, nodding toward where Leora had been earlier. "Really good," Aaron smiled. "Yeah, she is. But," Nadia added, "you've noticed it too, right?" Aaron frowned. "What?" "She's sensing more. More often. Whatever's out there isn't small." Aaron's smile faded. He looked at the star map on the screen. The Caro's Rim was a quiet place, but not empty. Rumors said pirates were building something out here. Something big. He didn't say it out loud, but he felt it. They were heading into something dangerous. Night at the window later that night. Leora and Aaron stood side by side at the window. The stars glittered like 1,000 silent watchers. Leora leaned her forehead gently against the glass. Her voice was soft. "They will come soon." Aaron didn't ask who. He trusted her enough to know it was true. "Then we'll be ready," he said. She looked at him. "You're not afraid?" Aaron smiled a little. "Of course I'm afraid. But fear doesn't decide what we do." "We do." Leora's eyes softened. "Humans are strange." Aaron laughed quietly. "Yeah, we are." She turned back to the stars. Her shoulders relaxed. Whatever storm was coming, she wouldn't face it alone anymore. Neither would he. The bond over the next few days, something new settled between them. Something quiet but strong. Not a spoken promise. Not a rule. Just a bond. When he gave an order, she was already moving. When she sensed something, he trusted her instantly. Their trust had become a language of its own, and the crew noticed it too. When the captain and the Aurelian woman worked together, it felt like the ship was stronger. But far beyond their little world, in the dark corners of the rim, a shadow moved. Unknown ships, silent and patient, prepared for something. Leora didn't know exactly what was coming, but she felt it. And Aaron knew one thing for sure. Whatever it was, they would face it together. The ship's silver light floated quietly near the edge of the Caro's Rim. The stars around it were cold and distant, like silent watchers in the dark. The air inside the ship felt different now. Heavier. Still, everyone on board could feel it. Something was coming. Captain Aaron Dempsey stood on the bridge, staring at the star map. Red dots blinked slowly on the screen. Not enemies, not yet, but shadows. They were too quiet. And silence in space was rarely safe. Beside him stood Leora, her silver eyes focused on the stars. Her face looked calm, but there was something sharp behind it, something like fire. Aaron didn't need her to speak. He already knew what she felt. "They're close," he said softly. Leora nodded once. "Yes, many." The calm before the crew was ready. The medics secured the rescued refugees. Engineers checked the engines and power lines twice. Nadia stood by the navigation console, fingers tapping nervously on the screen. "You still have time to turn back?" she said to Aaron. Her voice was quiet, not because she doubted him, but because she cared. Aaron shook his head. "People are still out there. Convoys, colonies. If we run, no one will help them." She sighed. "Yeah, I knew you'd say that," smiled faintly. "You've known me too long." Leora stepped closer to the front window. Her hands rested lightly on the railing. Her voice, soft but clear, carried through the bridge. "They don't want to fight. They want to take like before." Aaron glanced at her. She wasn't wrong. This wasn't about war. It was about control. Pirates and slavers liked to break hope before they broke people. But not today. The first sign, the stars flickered. The sensors beeped. "Contact," Nadia said quickly. "Multiple ships. Big ones." Leora's eyes narrowed. "They're hiding behind the asteroids." Aaron leaned forward. "Show me." The star map lit up with red marks pirate ships, sliding out of the dark like silent sharks. They didn't attack yet. They were waiting, circling, trying to make the silver light feel small and trapped. "Message coming in," Nadia said. "Unidentified signal. Put it through," Aaron said. A deep, rough voice filled the bridge. "Patrol ship. You're far from home. This isn't your fight. Leave the refugees. Leave your ship. Walk away." Aaron didn't answer at first. He let the silence stretch out. Then he said calmly, "No." The voice laughed low and cold. "Then you'll float here like the others." The transmission ended. Leora turned her head toward Aaron. "They think we're afraid." Aaron's smile was slow and steady. "Then they've never met humans." The Plantha crew gathered around the bridge table. Aaron stood at the center, Leora beside him. "We're outnumbered," Nadia said. "No question. But they're not expecting resistance," Aaron nodded. "Good. That's our advantage." He pointed to the star map. "We can use the asteroid field as cover. We've got maneuvering thrusters, they don't. They're heavy, slow." Leora closed her eyes. "They will split their ships. 2 will go behind. 4 will come straight." Aaron smiled. "Thank you." The crew didn't question how she knew. They trusted her now. Her instincts had saved them before. Nadia folded her arms. "So what's the plan?" Aaron leaned over the map. "We make them chase ghosts." The ghost ship, the silver light, drifted into the thickest part of the asteroid field. The rocks floated silently like giant black shadows. The pirates followed, confident. They had more ships, more power. They thought the little patrol vessel had nowhere to run. But what they didn't know was that Leora was already inside their heads, not controlling them, but sensing their moves before they made them. She guided Aaron's hand without words, like a soft wind moving a sail. "Now," she whispered. Aaron gave the signal. The ship released decoy beacons, small glowing devices that sent fake engine signals into the void. Suddenly, to the pirate sensors, it looked like there were 5 silver lights, not 1. Targets multiplying. Nadia called out, "They're confused." Aaron grinned. "Good." The pirate fleet split up, chasing the fake signals. Big, heavy ships turned the wrong way. They expected an easy hunt. Instead, they found empty space. Leora's silver eyes glowed faintly. She could feel their confusion like ripples in the water. "They don't understand," she said softly. Aaron's voice was calm. "That's exactly what I want. Trust." But not everything went smoothly. One of the pirate ships, larger and smarter than the rest, didn't follow the decoys. It came straight toward them. Nadia's fingers flew over the console. "They found us." Aaron tightened his grip on the railing. "Hold steady." The pirate ship's engines burned bright as it moved closer. Leora closed her eyes. She could feel their thoughts, cold, greedy, sure of victory. Then she opened her eyes. "They're trying to block us." Aaron turned to her. "What do you suggest?" She didn't hesitate. "Turn sharp left. Now." He trusted her completely. "Do it," he ordered. The ship spun sharply through the dark, sliding behind a thick asteroid. The pirate ship missed by seconds. It fired into empty space. The crew cheered softly. Aaron looked at Leora. "Nice work." "You trusted me," he nodded. "Always." The pirates grew impatient. They didn't like games. One by one, they regrouped, forming a wide net around the asteroid field. "They're trying to box us in," Nadia said. Aaron stared at the map. "Then let's give them something to catch." He ordered the ship to move toward the center of the asteroid field, slowly, like a cornered animal. The pirates followed, tightening their net. They thought they were winning. Leora stood in front of the main window, her hands resting on the glass. She could feel their attention on them, like cold wind pressing in. "Wait for it," Aaron whispered. The pirates moved closer. Closer. Leora's voice was soft but firm. "Now," Aaron pressed the command. All at once, the ship's mining lasers, normally used for cutting rock, not fighting, activated across the nearby asteroids. They didn't fire at the ships. They fired at the rocks themselves. A storm of spinning stone and metal exploded outward like a wave. Asteroids crashed into the path of the pirate fleet. Their big ships couldn't turn fast enough. The bridge filled with the sound of scanners beeping. Pirate ships scattered. Their net broke. Aaron grinned. You wanted to box us in? Bad idea. Nadia laughed for the first time that day. They're wide open now. The decision with their formation broken, the pirates had two choices: chase or run. Aaron's crew held their breath, waiting to see which it would be. Leora closed her eyes. She felt it, their fear, their anger, and something else. Desperation. They will call for more, she said softly. Aaron nodded. Then we finish this before they do.
Oh.
But he didn't mean destroy. He didn't want anyone to die. He just wanted them to stop. He opened the comm channel. Pirate fleet. This is Captain Aaron Dempsey of the Silverlight. You've lost your advantage. Leave now, or we'll make sure you never come back. Silence. Then slowly the pirates began to pull back. Not because they respected him, but because they realized they couldn't win. Quiet after the storm when the pirate fleet vanished into the dark. The bridge of the Silverlight felt lighter. The crew cheered softly. It wasn't the loud, wild cheer of soldiers. It was quiet, strong, real. Nadia leaned back in her chair. I can't believe that worked. Aaron smiled tiredly. Me neither. Leora didn't cheer. She simply stood at the window watching the fading stars where the pirates had been. Her silver hair glowed softly in the dim light. Aaron walked over to her. We did it. She turned to him slowly. We did it, she repeated. And this time there was pride in her voice. The refugees they had rescued earlier, came out of the lower decks. They gathered around the observation windows, staring at the stars with new hope. One small alien child walked up to Leora and tugged gently on her sleeve. She bent down. The child smiled shyly and handed her a small, folded piece of paper, a drawing of the ship surrounded by stars. She looked at it, then at Aaron. They are not afraid anymore, she said softly. He nodded. Because you helped. She blinked. We helped. The choice say a few days later, the Silverlight arrived at the nearest safe colony. Refugees were guided off the ship by kind faces and warm lights. It was the end of a long journey for many of them. For Aaron, it should have been the end too. He had done his job. The pirates were gone. The people were safe. But when he stepped onto the landing platform, he heard soft footsteps behind him. Leora stood there, wrapped in the same jacket he'd given her the day he rescued her. Her silver eyes met his. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. You don't have to stay, Aaron said quietly. You're free now. You can go anywhere. She took a step closer. I know. He frowned a little. Then why? Because I choose to stay, she said. Her voice was soft, but strong. I was a shadow. You gave me light. I will not leave it. Aaron didn't know what to say. His throat felt tight for a moment. He simply nodded. Then welcome home, he said. For the first time since he'd met her, she smiled. Not a quiet, shy smile. A full one. Warm and real. A new journey. The crew returned to the ship a few days later. Leora walked beside Aaron, not behind him. She wore a simple crew uniform now. No cage. No fear. Are you ready for the next mission? Nadia asked her with a grin. Leora tilted her head. Yes. The stars stretched out before them, bright, wide, endless. Somewhere out there, trouble waited. But so did new beginnings. Aaron sat in the captain's chair. Leora took a seat beside him. She belonged there now. Not as cargo, not as a shadow, but as part of something bigger. Set a course, Aaron said. The engines roared softly. The Silverlight turned toward the stars.